headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. Interesting questions have surfaced about the source of the intelligence that landed in President Trump's lap last week that he quickly sees as partial vindication of his unproven wiretap claims. It was House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes who told the president that legal surveillance may have incidentally captured communications involving Trump staffers. But where did he get the information? The congressman's whereabouts the day before he dropped that bombshell are now fueling suspicions among Democrats. NBC's Kelly Jackson was looking at
tonight, a new plot twist in the surveillance saga consuming Congress and the White House.
If this was you turn it off because you wouldn't do
The latest bombshell coming from Congressman Devin Nunes. He's the Republican head of the House Intelligence Committee, who first revealed U.S. spies may have scooped up communications involving the Trump transition team. It's called incidental coincidence. Nunes has specifically said there's no evidence to back the president's claim Trump Tower was wiretapped by President Obama. President Trump said he felt vindicated anyway.
I somewhat do. I must tell you, I somewhat do. I very much appreciated the fact that they found what they found.
Turns out, one day before he briefed the president, Nunes was on White House grounds reviewing that secret information from his secret source.
The Congress has not been given this information, these documents. There's no way for the folks that I've been working with to bring this forward to light. There was no way I could view that because they couldn't get it to the House Intelligence Committee.
Nunes looked at those intelligence reports, not in the West Wing, but in a special secure room at a building a few hundred feet away.
You can't just walk onto the White House grounds under the cover of darkness, go into a secret room and log onto a computer unless somebody on the White House staff allows you to do that.
Nunes says his source is not a White House staffer, but a member of the intelligence community. The administration's not worried about any inappropriate leak, despite for weeks railing against other leaks to reporters. It's okay, but other leaks are not.
I think there's a difference between a leak and someone pursuing a review of the situation. Someone who is cleared to share classified information with somebody else cleared is not a leak.
But Democrats are concerned about the coincidental timing, with more questions now on whether Nunes can really be impartial as he leads one of the congressional investigations into Russia's interference with the election.
Chairman Nunes is falling down on the job and seems to be more interested in protecting the president than in seeking the truth.
Senator Schumer there wants Paul Ryan to replace Nunes, but the House Speaker is reiterating his full confidence in the chairman. On the Senate side, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, has volunteered to answer questions from that Intelligence Committee on his Moscow-related meetings during the transition, including, according to the Russian news agency, one with a sanctioned Russian bank. Lester?
Kelly Jackson, thanks. And tonight, meantime, there is new fallout over the collapse of the GOP's plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. The White House says the president now wants to work with Democrats, and he may need to make sure he can get things from Congress. But there are serious big fights ahead over taxes and the Supreme Court, just to name a couple. And the question is, can the parties find common ground on anything? Here's NBC's Kristen.
After his stinging defeat over Obamacare, President Trump put the focus back on jobs today, meeting with women in business. But behind the scenes, mounting urgency for a win. The target now, tax reform, an already daunting task made more difficult after members of his own party, the Conservative Freedom Caucus, defied the president refusing to back his health care bill. The president still believes he can work with the Freedom Caucus to centerpiece of legislation.
I think it's going to depend on what legislation.
Not necessarily.
It is that balance. I think as he mentioned, he learned a lot through this process about loyalty.
Now the president signaling help to Democrats, but after months of personal insults and finger-pointing.
I think the losers are Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I noticed that Chuck Schumer yesterday with fake tears.
What incentive do Democrats have to work with him?
The one thing that the Trump White House can do to attract Democrats is to offer them something that they genuinely want. There are some basic things that you can do to strengthen Obamacare, genuine investments in infrastructure.
Ready to pull the plug pause on health care reform yet. The president saying he'll revisit the issue when Obamacare explodes. Independent fact-checkers argue that's overstated, but acknowledge the plan could see some real problems next year. The many health insurers across the country are pulling out due to lost revenue, giving consumers fewer options and driving up the prices of premiums.
How we doing?
At this healthcare clinic in Western Ohio that sees more than 1,700 patients per month, they're worried about the future of Obamacare and the uncertainty surrounding all of it.
I'm disappointed with the whole process. I don't know that it's just any one person. I think it's a whole process.
I have sleepless nights worried about how we're going to take care of the people that rely on us.
House Speaker Paul Ryan met with the president today to discuss the way forward, but further complicating the Republican agenda, the president is dealing with a new low. His approval rating has dropped to 36% in the latest Gallup poll. For context, Lester, the three previous presidents have had approval ratings above 50%. Lester.
Kristen Welker at the White House. Thanks. Turning overseas to the escalating fight against ISIS, NBC News has learned that the U.S. is deploying some 275 more soldiers to northern Iraq, according to two military officials, to bolster U.S. support for Iraqi forces pushing to retake Mosul. Right now, the Secretary of Defense is responding to claims that U.S. strikes in Mosul led to one of the biggest civilian casualty events since the fall of Saddam Hussein. NBC's Hans Nichols has details.
With the battle to retake Mosul ramping up, Pentagon officials today on defense, assessing whether U.S. airstrikes may have killed more than 100 civilians in the heavily populated western part of the city. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis responding for the first time.
We will always do everything possible to reduce the loss of life or injury among innocent people. The same cannot be said for our adversaries.
The Pentagon reviewing roughly 700 video feeds of airstrikes hitting Mosul over the past 10 days. The investigation is one of more than 30 separate inquiries into allegations of multiple civilian casualties. Human rights groups reporting a clear increase in civilian deaths under the Trump administration.
In the month of March, we've reported over 1,000 civilian casualty allegations in both Iraq and Syria that are tied to coalition activities. In some cases, in fact, in a lot of cases, you can't tell exactly who was responsible.
Defense officials insisting that rules of engagement have not been changed under President Trump. But in Mosul, ordinary Iraqis are demanding answers while searching for their loved ones. As the Pentagon rushes to complete its investigation into those civilian casualties, officials here say there are no plans to change the way they carry out airstrikes against the Islamic State. Hans Nichols, NBC News, the Pentagon.
Back home, millions are in the potential path of severe storms, which have already swept through the southern plains, bringing baseball-sized hail to Texas and Oklahoma, along with damaging winds. Further east, authorities report a tornado touchdown earlier today near the Mississippi-Tennessee border. Severe thunderstorm watches are in effect this evening for parts of the Southwest and Midwest. And tomorrow, Texas and Oklahoma are under the gun again with 11 million at risk for tornadoes, strong winds, and more hail. Tonight, your internet browsing privacy is at the center of a big fight on Capitol Hill as Republicans in Congress vote to roll back Obama administration rules that had not yet gone into effect. Privacy advocates say the GOP's plan could mean your family